So there is another control statement we can use named else if. And in Python it's spelled ELIF. And whenever you see this, it basically means else if. And with our regular vocabulary, when we say else if, we are checking to see if the previous statement was false, but the current statement we're making is true. So, for example, if I say, if the ball is blue, do something. Else, if the ball is green, do some other thing. That means I'm going to do some other thing only if the previous statement, which is if the ball is blue, is false, and the current statement, which is if the ball is green, is true. Then I'm going to do that other thing. So just to make things a lot simpler to understand, I'm going to show you an example. So in this example, we're checking a user's age. We're asking the user to enter their age, and then we're checking if the user is a child, a teenager, an adult, or a senior based on their age. And here you can see that we're using two else if statements. And you can think of this whole entire block of conditions as one unit. So the first thing we are doing here is checking if the age is less than 13. If that is true, then that means the person is a child. Else, if the age is less than or equal to 19, then that means the person is a teenager. Else, if the age is less than 65, then the person is an adult. And if everything else is false, then the person is a senior. So let me enter some inputs. Let's say the person is 17. And as you can see, I get the expected result, which is teenager. So one thing that you should keep in mind here is whenever we're using an else if statement, the thing that will differentiate this between a regular if statement is that once we get a true statement, we don't care to run any other statement in our if or else unit. So in this case, once that I see that the age is less than or equal to 19, I print out teenager, and I don't go on to check for adults or senior or anything else. So this is very useful if you're checking for the very first true statement and you don't care about any other statements that come after the first true statement. So let me give you an example of if we had used just if. So if we had a bunch of if statements here instead of else if, these are all going to be treated as individual if statements. And one of them here has an else. So let me run the code again, and I'll input the same value for age, 17. And as you can see here, I have teenager and adult. And the reason why I'm getting this is because the age I entered here is not less than 13. So I'm skipping this. So I'm going to the next one. Age is less than or equals to 19. And this is true. So I'm going to print this. And I'm going to still move on to the next one. And since this is not an else if, age 17 is still less than 65. So I'm going to print out adult. And keep in mind that when we have a block of if, else, if statements here, we can have an unlimited amount of else if statements, but it can only start with one if statement. And obviously, we can only have one else statement, which will be executed if everything else here is false. So essentially, you can just think of an else if statement as a statement that will only run if the previous condition is false. And if the else if statement runs and it's true, then it will execute whatever is in that block. And that's essentially what an else if statement does. It is an else statement with a condition.